You know, I think that's 8 games you've had against Newcastle as a manager and you've never lost. You must be very pleased with that.
I didn't realize that. But more than my individual situation, I think today was a huge moment for us, because I just been told at St James Park for the last 2 seasons who were the teams that achieved good results here, and there are not too many. So Forest did very well. Thank you for the fans, because they supported and they help us a lot.
How much do you feel the schedule's kind of caught up with the players? Because that's, I think, 6 defeats out of 7 if you include the Chelsea Cup win, which of course was a draw. But
yeah, it's been an intense period, no doubt about that. And I think the players physically have given me everything that I can ask for. I think we'd acknowledge that we haven't been at our best for the last few games. There's no denying that, and we take responsibility for that. That's all we can do. At least now we get a chance to return to the training pitch, which we haven't done for it feels like months. And I think ultimately we need some training ground time to refine some of the missing parts in our game.
OK, we'll get on to Newcastle in a moment. Let's start, though, to the victor, the spoils, then, and to Forest. Well done to them. A lot was said about the decision to replace Steve Cooper with Nuno Espirito Santo, Quaker, but hang on about a second. After that result, that chat may well stop.
Maybe. It's difficult because Cooper's hugely popular at Forest we understand why. He took them from the foot of the Championship table back to the Premier League. But it seemed like it was time for change. Their home form dropped significantly, and brought in a manager that's got Premier League experience, and despite the fact that Nuno didn't have a great experience at Spurs, he did a fantastic job at Wolves. And so it's understandable why they went for a manager with that experience, and you see the job that he's doing already. This is a Newcastle side, though, that are struggling, and Forest capitalised on the fact that Newcastle are not in the best form at the moment, but you can only play who's in front of you. It was a narrow defeat last week against Bournemouth in their last game, but you see things starting to click, and obviously Chris Wood's a man that's had to step up a lot this season. The one year's been out with injury. And Wood's a man who scored a lot of goals in the Premier League previously. It's not really worked out for him when he went to Newcastle. But when he was at Burnley, he consistently got double figures in the Premier League. And they'll be hoping they can continue that goal-scoring form, because they will need him to avoid relegation. Because you look at the teams near the bottom of the table, especially Luton, they're starting to find form. Obviously, Everton are in decent form as well. So the fact that Forest have got this win against one of the top sides in the league will definitely boost confidence, and I hope that they can continue this.
Yeah, well, let's have a little look at Chris Wood, shall we? What do the stats show us, Michael? It was quite a return to St James's Park, wasn't it?
I bet Newcastle fans couldn't believe what they were watching. And what a day for Nottingham Forest and Chris Wood. He was the 7th player to score a hat-trick in the Premier League on Boxing Day. The last time that happened, Harry Kane against Southampton in 2017. So a brilliant day for Chris Wood. Of course, he did feature for Newcastle United. He did sign from them. From Burnley. Didn't really massively work out for him. It looks like it's working out now under Nuno for Nottingham Forest. I'm looking at the bottom now, and the bottom 3, especially Luton, are making a real go of it now, but that's massive for Forest, isn't it? Sort of clearing away from trouble there at the moment. Yeah,
most definitely. They needed that win. They definitely need that win, especially with Luton winning as well. But you can't say they're clear of it yet. There's so many points to be played for. We're only at the midway point of the season right now. But you often see it in the Premier League that a change in managers is a catalyst for changing results and performances. And that's the reason why Forest would have made that change and brought in Nuno. They just need to carry on picking up wins and performing at a high level. They've struggled historically in Premier League since they got back into the Premier League. Was away form was difficult for them, but now they're picking up wins on the road and they're starting to show strong and solid performances. You just think that with the players that they've got, with players that they've got to come back in the side as well from injury, they should have enough to stay in the division.
Yeah, 2 points clear of the bottom 3 at the moment. OK, what about Newcastle? Michael, how concerning is this form at the moment?
Well, Eddie Howe, as he just listened there on Sky Sports, is very open, very honest. It's been a difficult few weeks, isn't it? I mean, going out of the Champions League, going out of Europe completely. 1-1, drawn 1, lost 5, conceded 7, scored 7 and conceded 14. Of course, going out of the Carabao Cup as well. Players out of form. Kieran Trippier being very open and honest about his form. But can we keep going on about injuries? I hear it a lot, but at this stage of the season, all teams have injuries, don't they? Is it just maybe a little bit of a realisation that Steve Howe said to Rob and I in the last hour? Maybe things have gone so well, so soon for Eddie Howe and Newcastle last season. I don't think they expected to get in the top 4 so quickly. Is this maybe a little bit of a reset needed?
Yeah, I think so. They need a break, and there's going to be a winter break. A lot of teams suffered with injuries this season, but particularly Newcastle. So I think they're right to point to that as a reason why they're not picking up results. But the last 2 results have been pretty damaging. A 1-0 loss against Luton and a 3-1 loss against Nottingham Forest, 2 teams that you expect to be struggling near the foot of the table. But they do need a reset, and Newcastle, we know about the resources they've got available to them. They can and do have the ability to go again in January, and you expect them to do so. But those 2 results have been pretty damaging, and the writing's been on the wall really in terms of performances. This is a Newcastle team that exceeded expectations last season. They got to a domestic cup final. They finished in the top 4, but this season they've had to contend with playing Champions League football, and maybe that's catching up with them right now. But you do expect them to pick form back up because Eddie Howe is one of the best managers in this league.
Yeah, so it begs the question: how important is January for them?
Be interesting to see what they do. Of course, Eddie Howe says to our colleague Keith Downey about financial fair play constraints. But you look at it, they have recruited very, very well. Maybe questions, maybe did they do enough this summer after the Champions League qualification, maybe? But only Eddie Howe will know. Of course, he will be looking at injuries as well, but maybe that just 1 or 2, potentially another midfielder, but he and the fans will probably look to the injury situation as well. So a bit like Manchester United, Erik ten Hag, maybe a little reset in January. Is being out of Europe altogether maybe good for them? Possibly. I know they've loved their trips. They had some fantastic away matches. But maybe getting back into those European positions domestically might be more important going forward.